Now, Shane, we do got a ton of games to recap, and before we even jump into that, spoiler alert here, I'm not really breaking any news here, but the SEC's now got 13 teams headed to the postseason, 13 of 14. Only Vanderbilt is the program not going to be bowling this season in the SEC. That's an all-time new record, and I just think it's, they say SEC's top heavy. I mean, my goodness, the entire league outside of one is headed to the postseason. And if, at this point, we're beating a dead horse, but it's the SEC and it's everybody else, and that's never even been in doubt.
No, and you wonder why Lincoln left. Oh man, yeah. This is. I was texting Mike during the game Saturday, and I said, man, I'm secretly pulling for LSU here because we had Florida already with the win. I said, LSU gets this thing, man. We're going to have every team but Vanderbilt in a bowl game. I've never seen anything like that, but that just shows you when we say any given Saturday, it's been that every single week this year. The only team that never struggled really was the Georgia Bulldogs, but everyone else, boy, they went through it, and that's what you love. That's why I like the league expanding, because eventually we're going to filter out these other teams, and it's just going to be us versus the world, So, and it kind of already is. This is a sign of it, and I just hope this is a year that we really start taking the bowl serious. I'd love to see a sweep, man. Nothing would be sweeter than an SEC sweep.
13-0. Well, it's going to start. The action started here, of course, on Thanksgiving. Shane, we haven't had a chance to recap his game just yet, but the Egg Bowl won again by them Ole Miss Rebels, Shane, 31-21 in Starkville with those annoying cowbells, as Lane Kiffin calls them there. But, hey, this is the first time Ole Miss has ever won 10 games, Shane, in a regular season. So credit to Lane Kiffin. What an outstanding job he's done down there this season with them Rebels. But, this game, a little bit of a slow start. But, in the end, I thought it kind of was some of the things that I said, Shane. The more balanced team won the football game. The team with the kicking issues, I mean, those missed kicks were huge for Mississippi State. The drops right before halftime, that killed Mississippi State. If you missed it, they had an opportunity. 3 drops, Shane. 3 would-be touchdowns. They had to settle for the field goal, and then the kicker shanks it. And that was just so deflating going into halftime with down 10-6. And Mississippi State was never able to recapture that magic. And, in due part to, I hate to say this, the fake injuries, Shane.
Yeah.
I mean, the fake injuries continue to come up. And, I think I've seen a lot of Ole Miss fans saying, my God, you're beating a dead horse here. But I don't think I've ever watched a season play out, Shane, where the, ESPN announcers and whatnot are just basically saying this is like, we're dishonoring the game.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of are, man, because it's like they found a loophole. I credit them for that. I mean, it's technically not a penalty, but I guarantee you they're going to switch this rule in the offseason, and we're going to have to call it the Kiffin Ole Miss rule. You know what?
Well, they call it the new mascot is the fainting goats, So that's the one I keep seeing on the Twitters there. But yeah, the fact of the matter is they found a loophole. I mean, there's part of me that hates it, and there's part of me that accepts it because it is legal. You know what I'm saying? It is something that you can do. It's something my team has done. It's something other teams have done. Nobody does it quite as much as Ole Miss. In fact, they got I think they got a damn camera just dedicated to recording constantly that side of the ball so they can zoom in on these players and their fandom injuries. So it's a loophole. But I think that gets corrected in the offseason, Mike. I think something's going to happen here because it has been going on. It's just now getting brought up national attention. So that part sucks. But that's not why Mississippi State lost this game. Yeah, there was opportunities, blown opportunities. You said it right there before half. A couple of key drops, easy. I mean, I'm talking. I could catch it in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? And I know the weather's bad and all this stuff, but these kids got these special gloves, man. It ain't like the stuff we grew up with. I mean, you can catch in the rain, man. You can catch with these gloves, and I just think that was the big one with Mississippi State with the field goals, just missed opportunities, because those opportunities could have got you leads. Those opportunities could have got the momentum going. Those opportunities could have kept Ole Miss's offense off the field, and they just weren't able to do that. So I credit Ole Miss for the victory, but this was really Mississippi dropping the ball, literally, pun intended.
Yeah, and both defenses really, stepping up for the most part until Ole Miss kind of got that ground game going in the second half. Mm-hmm. Again, that was huge, being able to punch a ball in there late in the second half on the ground specifically, because Matt Corral didn't really take over. Will Rogers, he had his moments, scored late, and he padded his stats a little bit, but it was an off performance from him. He remember going into this, everybody was saying, "My God, they got the hottest quarterback in this matchup." But again, it was these defenses stepping up, and man, just another wild Egg Bowl. But won by the Ole Miss Rebels.
It felt like it was a competition between Drummond and Polk there for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And then Polk, of course, got hurt. Man, I thought he was out. When I watched that lineman roll, I was like, man, that knee ain't coming back until 2022. You know what I'm saying? But he was able to bounce back and get competitive. But it seemed like they did lose a little steam around that area, because Polk was a big part of that offense. And it was a chess match. I loved watching these two minds work. They gave the coaches, it felt like they gave their players all the opportunities to win these games, and they were playing, man. These kids were playing like their hair was on fire, but it's just Ole Miss did what Ole Miss does, and they got the last laugh.
Yeah, Sam Williams had 2 more sacks. I think he's second in the SEC. He was huge in this performance for the Rebels, and just the key to the game in my mind, Shane, I said the ground game. Ole Miss had 7 rushing plays of 10 or more yards that went for 118. Mississippi State only had 2 for 25, and the more balanced offense won out here in the end.
Yeah, that and Ole Miss just continuing those drives. How many times did we have third? Now I will tell you, Mike, I tweeted out there was that. What was it, 2nd and 28 or something like that? That huge, it felt like Mississippi State was kind of getting that momentum back. It felt like they missed an apparent hold there on the side, but that was a dagger, man. It just took the wind right out of this. That's all they did was boo and thought about that one play. Ole Miss they found ways to keep the chains moving, especially on third down. They were 11 of 18. They just couldn't get them off the field. Mississippi State would do great the first 2 plays, but then they'd screw up on third down and let Ole Miss get beyond the chains. So that was, again, that's what I felt like. It was just a couple mistakes, couple of clear mistakes that if they could have corrected, they could have won that game. But hips and butts and candies and nuts, we'd all have a wonderful Christmas, brother. So, you got a whole year to hold that Egg Bowl over them Mississippi State Bulldog fans, and trust me, them fans are going to do it for the full year.
Lane, there's going to be a lot made about the 10 wins. Is this what you foresaw when you started the season, or did it kind of click for you later? Did you guys have this sort of potential?
I would have foreseen this season. I don't know if you would ask me 2 years ago necessarily when we first got here, but after spending a year with the offensive firepower and coming back, I don't know if I would have predicted if you would have told me the quarterback would have been hurt, all 3 receivers would have been hurt, and all 3 of those guys missed time, and some all at the same time. I don't know that I would have predicted that, but our defense held us together through those injuries and did it again tonight, and the third downs are kind of crazy. 11 of 18 on offense and 4 of 14 for those guys was a huge part of the game.
Hey, Lane, I know when we've talked to Matt earlier in the series, brought up that there's just something special about this team and the guys in the locker room. From your perspective, what is it that has kind of made this team a little bit different?
I don't know. I kind of call them a blended family. It just kind of gets put together. Some have been here 6 years, from the beginning, and some have been here 1 year. And they've come from all over the place. We got transfers, walk-ons, everything. So it's really cool to see them pick each other up, every coach always says, this team's a family, and they say that every year, and that's not really true. So this is one of those unique years, unique teams. They really are, and they protect each other like that and play for each other like that.
I know you kind of downplayed the rivalry this week, but after that Ely touchdown, we saw you kind of get into it with your sideline with some of the fans. Just what does it feel like to you to kind of get swept up in the emotion of a moment like that?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that, but I get it now. Like I said, it was different than coming here in Alabama. There is, a lot of things said to you on the way out. Their players, say a lot of things during the game, and it gets emotional and gets competitive. So I did kind of get caught up in that. And those bells are really annoying, by the way. So, and they don't even come close to following the rules. So whatever rule that is that they're supposed to stop, they don't.
Hey, Mike, how much of a different game do you think it is if you guys can't score before halftime there? I think 3 drops and then the missed field goal.
Yeah, how about that? We haven't dropped 3 balls in a row for a long time. I don't know, because I think sometimes we'd be 7 points better. I know that we'd be 7 points better. I think, but everybody was locked in. In a game like this, it's a fine line between being too wired up and and then too discouraged. People don't really go flat because they don't care. In a game like this, everybody cares, but you care too much, try too hard, then you're out of control, and then you get too discouraged, then you just wallow and mope. And I didn't see any of that out of our team, but I did think we tried too hard and missed some opportunities, which was too bad, and kind of key situation type of stuff.
Mike, with Nolan McCourty, makes the first 2 kick, misses the second 2. With him right now, do you see anything in maybe his form that's off, or is it more so just mental on some of his struggles?
I imagine it's a little of both, if you're not right mentally, your form's not going to be very good. Because if your form's good, the ball doesn't have any choice but to go through, the ball's not deciding where it goes.
I know the final, Mike over here, the final regular season game just ended, but how do you kind of reflect on what your team did this season, 7 wins, and I guess the strides you guys felt like you made?
I think we improved probably more than any team in the conference, but it wasn't really satisfactory for us from the standpoint we felt like we could have done a better job than we did. And we certainly think that, we left a lot of meat on the bone as far as opportunities. But with that said, we steadily improved the entire year. So beat a lot of ranked teams and lost to a couple of them. And then, we don't get too tired of these guys. You're going to see nearly all of them next year. So.